Hello, this is Jen the Liberty Lion, and I'm going to go over this old book that I had found on the internet. I went over it or included some parts of it in the last couple videos I've done. This one is in particular on citizen of the United States. So this is from 1812, and these are the laws. These are the laws that are written by the United States of America under the authority of the Articles of Confederation because there's no evidence that they were ever repealed or replaced. And the laws written by the United States of America were for the United States. So it was written by the states and sent to the military. So the states are dictating the laws to the military, and then the military and the Constitution called the Congress of the United States then codifies the laws into statutes, codes, regulations, rules, and whatever other things they want to call them. So I've talked about the Constitution saying that the members of Congress are to be citizens of the United States, and the president is supposed to be a citizen of the United States or resident on lands of the United States. So the reason for this is because he was supposed to be the president. George Washington, the first president of the United States, was supposed to be the executive officer of the states, the United States of America, and the military, the United States. And as president of the United States, he's called commander in chief. As president of the states, he's called executive. So in this book, to be citizens of the United States, this particular section, section 21, um, no, page 21, article 32, it's talking about how um, the citizens of the United States are officers commanding in quarters, garrison, or on the march shall keep good order and to the utmost of his power redress all abuses or disorders which may be committed by any officer or soldier under his command if, upon complaint made to him of officers or soldiers, beating or otherwise ill treating any person or disturbing fairs or markets, or of committing any kinds of riots to the disquieting of the citizens of the United States, so on and so forth, and that those people would be court martialed. So when you first read this, you may say, well, yeah, because the military can't disrupt the people not in the military, and the people not in the military are citizens of the United States, but that's not what this is saying. This is saying that anyone in the military cannot disrupt any other person in the military, or those people in the military who are on military posts at fairs or markets, or any kind of riot or disquieting to any other person on the military post, because these are laws for the Army. And the Army back in that time was supposed to stay on the federal lands. So all their fairs and all these kind of things that they did were on the federal lands. They didn't come off the federal lands. They stayed there unless they were called by the governor to help keep the peace. But we'll see this more as we go on. So this is page 36, and it says, be it further enacted that in time of war, all persons not citizens of or owing allegiance to the United States of America. So the oath to become a citizen of the United States was not taken to the United States. It was taken to the United States of America. So when you joined the military, you were a citizen of the state, you joined the military, you took an oath to uphold and defend the United States of America, to become a citizen of the United States in the military. And then this is page 54. And this is more telling. So this is an act fixing the military peace establishment of the United States. So what this is saying is that it wants to be able to, the United States of America or the states are going to allow the president as commander in chief to move people from the war area, the war establishment, to the peace establishment, staying in the military. So you can be in the military and be moved from a war establishment to a peace establishment. And there's another more current law on the books that allows the president to move people from, like, say, the Air Force to the Army, or the Army to the Navy, or to the Navy to the back to the Air Force or the Marine Corps. There has to be a law written from the proper authority, being the United States of America, so that the commander in chief can do these things. He can't do them arbitrarily. There has to be a law for it. So it says that it be lawful for the President of the United States to retain with their present grade as many of the first lieutenants now in service. That's important to remember that it says now in service shall amount to the whole number of lieutenants required, so on and so forth. So we don't need to get into detail on that, but I want you to keep in mind that this is the law that's telling the president as commander in chief that he can take the people now in service and move them from one part of the military to the peace part of the military. So here we see in section 11, and this is the same act, but it's section 11, further enacted that the commissioned officers who shall be employed in the recruiting service, so to go recruit people from the war military to the peace military, to keep up, to keep the numbers up. So to kind of level things out from war and peace areas by voluntary enlistment. So not by force, not by draft, but asking them, hey, you're at the War Department. You're already a citizen of the United States in the War Department. How about come be a citizen of the United States in the Peace Department? Okay, so by voluntary enlistment, the course, as aforesaid, shall be entitled to receive for every effective able-bodied citizen of the United States who shall be duly enlisted. So they're already under oath. They're already members of the military in one other part of the military, and asking them, would you like to be volunteered or recruited to volunteer to come to the Peace Department? You're already a citizen of the United States. You're already in the military, just a different section of the military. That every commissioned and staff officer to be appointed in virtue of this act shall be a citizen of the United States or some one of the territories thereof. So to be a commissioned officer or a staff officer, you have to become a citizen of the United States, meaning you have to be enlisted into the military. You have to be in the military under oath, and then you are a citizen of the United States. They call it different things when they're talking about different classes of people. So, this particular class of people, known as citizens of the United States, are the people in the military. So, we see in the Constitution that to be a representative, you have to be 7 years a citizen of the United States. And to be a senator, you have to be 9 years a citizen of the United States. And to be president, you have to be 14 years a citizen of the United States. A citizen of the United States at the time of this adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. 14 years a resident within the United States, a resident on federal lands. So you could be a civil servant or you could be military. And of course, Article 3 has no citizenship requirement. So logic would tell us that if you have to be, and it's important to be a citizen of the United States to be president or a Congress member, that if they meant for you to be a citizen of the United States to be a justice, they would have put that in there. Or if we're all automatically, upon birth, citizens of the United States, they wouldn't need to put it in there. Or if they did put it in there, or if they did feel they needed to put it in there, that they would say that justices also have to be citizens of the United States. So why did they leave them out? And I explained that in another video. And the answer that I gave, or that I have, is because these are civil servants and they are not citizens of the United States. They're free, sovereign, and independent people. When you join the military, you lose your sovereignty and you obey orders, and you're in service to the United States of America 24/7. There are a lot of libertarians who will say, well, the Constitution is the law of the land. If the Constitution is the law of the land, then what land? What land is it the law of? And that's when I talk about Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, which there are two lands. That's the seat of government, and places purchased that are forts, magazines, arsenals, or in other words, military posts, dockyards for the military, for the Navy. And they definitely make a distinguishment between the United States and the United States of America in Article 2, Section 1, executive power of the President of the United States of America, and Section 2, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States, Army and Navy, and militia when called into actual service of the United States. So the United States works for, the military works for, we the people of the military work for the United States of America. And I showed you back in this book. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America. And they're making these laws for the United States. Government of the armies of the United States. The United States is a separate establishment which oversees the codification for the military given to them by the United States of America in the Articles of Confederation. And we see in the Articles of Confederation that this is where the United States was actually created and given some power, right, and jurisdiction. And we see it in Article 2. Each state retains its sovereignty, freedom, and independence, and every power, jurisdiction, and right, which is not by this confederation expressly delegated to United States and Congress assembled. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States. So the Constitution is meant to be for the military. And some of these positions are for military officers, citizen of the United States. The president has a civil service office and a uh, military office. So it would make sense to say that the um, president, as commander in chief, would be necessary for him to have 14 years military experience. And in Article 2, we have non-military, because these would be citizens of the United States of America, which would make sure that the military stays within its power. So Article 3, justices are supposed to make sure that the military doesn't expand too much. But when you look and you do some research, all the justices claim to be citizens of the United States. Okay, so there you have it. The Constitution, we the people in the Constitution are the military members, the Army, Navy, and Congress and President of the United States. And they appoint civil servants who work along with the United States. Now, the civil servants are of a higher jurisdiction or higher power than the military, which makes sense because the justices of the Supreme Court are supposed to be civil servants. They're appointed civilians, not citizens of the United States, who are supposed to oversee the laws passed by the military to make sure that they're not expanded too far. So the justices are not supposed to be we the people, but the promise was made by the military to do these things for the United States of America. And basically nothing in here is followed, and if it is followed, it's done in secret, and we don't know about it because it's probably done on a military post somewhere. There's more written about that and the secrecy that they're allowed to have in the Articles of Confederation, which, again, I find no evidence that the Articles of Confederation were ever repealed or replaced. So I find it almost laughable, these people that go around screaming in your face saying they're one of the people, and they haven't even read the Constitution to know what it says, to know who we the people are. Okay, so have a good rest of your Sunday, and keep checking on my YouTube channels. I make posts and make a lot of posts throughout the week, and like, share, subscribe, talk about this stuff with your friends and family. It's important that we know the truth so that we can get back to a very, very limited government.